It's like going up to, someone saying, haha, your prophet is a pedophile.
Actually, I think your prophet is a paedophile is fair comment. What else would you call a 54-year-old adult male who has sex with a 9-year-old girl? And arguments that these were different times are just nonsensical. If you claim that your God is eternal and the source of objective morality, you can't go on to claim temporal or societal context as mitigation for evident wrongdoing. But let's not stick with Muhammad. What would you call a man who's prepared to kill his child because of the voices in his head? Some would call him the father of the Jews. I'd call him a nut. What would you call people who claim to follow the teachings of a man who preached love, tolerance, forgiveness, social responsibility, and urged people to turn the other cheek and refrain from judging others? Yet they go on to condemn those around them as unworthy and sinful and evil, hate the idea of paying tax to help the needy, would impose their lifestyle on other people by force, and have a love of owning killing machines that borders on a fetish, and proudly display these horrible devices, proclaiming their willingness to use them to defend their property. Some of these people will call themselves Christians, and I call them something else. You accuse the people who use the term zombie Jesus of hatred and ridicule. Well, hatred and ridicule are not the same thing. You can believe someone is wrong, ridiculous, ill-informed, or just plain stupid without hating them. What many people with strong beliefs fail to appreciate is that no idea is above criticism. More than that, some arguments are so outlandish and internally inconsistent that the only valid criticism is ridicule. If your argument is strong and well-founded, any attempt to ridicule it is easily dismissed. So, zombie Jesus, is that unfair?
Let's look at the definition of a zombie first.
Okay, I'll humour you. Let's.
Zombie, the body of a dead person.
One of the foundations of your religion is that Jesus died on the cross. Not much of a miracle if he wasn't really dead, but just knocked out for a while, or was faking it. So I think we have a match.
Given the semblance of life.
Well, since we're going with your evidence, the Gospels do report that Jesus appeared again after the crucifixion and seemed to be alive. And the promise of life after death is another key belief for your religion. So we have a match there too.
But mute and willless.
In John 20:15, Jesus is quoted as having spoken to Mary Magdalene, so not really a match here.
By a supernatural force.
Which in this case would be omnipotent God. And you probably can't get much more supernatural than that.
Usually for some evil purpose.
I think we have a match. So, of the 5 criteria you supplied for classifying a zombie, Jesus matches 4 of them. Now, what about the cannibalism?
What about the whole cannibalism thing? Jesus does talk about flesh and blood and partaking in it. Remember, it was purely symbolic.
I think there are a billion Catholics who might have something to say about that. In transubstantiation, there is nothing symbolic about the Eucharist being flesh and blood of a human being. It's regarded as actual fact, and belief in that is considered to be key to faith. You go on to ask the question as to whether anyone would refer to people who've been resuscitated as zombies. The obvious answer is no, because these people haven't really died in the sense that biological activity in their body had stopped and decay had started to set in. They aren't so much brought back to life as brought back to consciousness, unless too much brain damage has occurred through oxygen starvation. There are no supernatural elements involved here, it's all biology. And the purpose? Well, the purpose is simply to save a person's life, not in itself an evil act, although that may depend on the person being revived. So hopefully I've answered that one for you. You claim that mockery is detrimental to my cause. I'd say that pointing out the stupidity and irrational belief and behaviour of those in the opposite corner is fundamental to exposing the shortcomings of the fundamental. And as for making Christians not want to listen or engage in conversation, I think that ship sailed several centuries before I was born. My experience with Christians on YouTube and in life is that they don't want to listen or engage in conversation. They just want someone else who's part of the club to tell them they're right, help them recruit new members, and join in with judging other people unfavourably. I'm repeatedly told by Christians that I do believe in God, but say that I don't because I want to sin. That the reason I'm an atheist is not because I don't believe in God, but because I hate God. Which, if these people actually did listen to me, they'd know would make about as much sense as me hating the zombie tooth fairy. The arrogance in those statements that these people know my mind better than I do, that the only reason I don't believe what they do is so that I can be an evil person. Where's the respect I keep hearing you harp on about? Not only am I not entitled to my own point of view, I'm incapable of holding my own point of view, and if I say otherwise, I'm just a liar. Much of your argument against using the term zombie Jesus relies on this idea of respect. If you want others to respect you, then you have to treat them with respect. That's a handy little motto to trot out when it suits you. I hear a lot about respect, but what respect are we talking about here? I'd respect a person's right to believe or do whatever stupid thing they want, as long as it doesn't hurt anybody else. If someone decides they want to nail a piece of wood to their hand and walk around with it as a symbol for their love of their Messiah, I respect their right to do it. I don't respect their belief. I'm going to think they're an idiot, and I'm going to feel no guilt at all in ridiculing a ridiculous belief. The idea that we should respect other people's beliefs is flawed because not all beliefs are worthy of respect. If they were, then we'd have to respect the beliefs of the Ku Klux Klan, or paedophiles, or people who think that it's okay for them to steal and rape and murder because, well, they'll come up with some reason like their mummy didn't cuddle them, but they just felt like it. What about mockery? Do I have to mock other people's superstitious beliefs? Well, if people kept their belief to themselves, I wouldn't have any cause to criticise or mock, other than spite, and actually it would be an invasion of their privacy. Even if someone walked around in public with a piece of wood nailed to their hand, it's not really any of my business, unless that piece of wood is substantial enough to be used as an offensive weapon. And even then, I'll grant you, if it's nailed to your hand, it's probably going to hurt you more than it hurts me. Where I feel the need to criticise, to mock such ridiculous behaviour, is when it leaks out from the individual. You can be sure that I'm going to step in and resist any attempt a person makes to nail their kid's hands to a piece of wood. And I'm certainly going to fight back if they try to nail my hand and the hands of my friends and family to a piece of wood against our will. One way of doing that is to demonstrate the stupidity of the act and the flaws in its underpinning belief system. You can call that ridicule if you want, but that's a misuse of the word. If a person says things that sound crazy and make no sense at all, then pointing that out isn't ridicule. It's stating that I can clearly see the Emperor's bits because he's in the altogether. These accusations of lack of respect are the misused, over-employed alarm siren of the scoundrel. Criticise Muslims who don't think that their daughters should be taught to read and write and get accused of not respecting belief. Criticise Jews and Muslims for the unnecessarily cruel slaughter of animals. You get accused of lack of respect for belief. Criticise Christians who feel that it's okay for clergy who rape and brutalise children to evade justice, and you get accused of lack of respect. Well, I'm having none of it. Respect has nothing to do with this at all. Anyone tries that approach, and I, and others like me, are going to call them out on it. Towards the end of the video, you talk about bridging the gap. I'm not really sure what you mean by that. It implies that there's some middle ground when it comes to belief in fictional, as if it were real, and I don't see any. If someone shouts at me and screams at me and tells me the world is ruled by lizard people, or if they sit down and tell me this in a calm, collected voice, I'm probably not going to consider them less wrong or less deluded, maybe just less theatrical. Saying something crazy in a calm, respectful voice doesn't make it any more true or any less ridiculous than if you're screaming like a banshee and fighting off the invisible seagulls. Although it is quite possible to have a calm debate on who would win a magic spell contest, Endora out of Bewitch, or Harry Potter, I doubt any meaningful conclusion would come out of it. At best, if you're the person who actually believes either of these characters are real, your opponent will be just humouring you. I suspect that by bridging the gap, what you really mean is other people's acceptance of your ideas rather than any change in your position. Well, enough ground has been given over to irrational beliefs, and we see the result of that around us every day with terror bombings, oppression of women, denial of equal rights to people who don't fit some arbitrary template, bombing of abortion clinics, and the list is extensive. If you want me to say that you're entitled to your belief, I'll say it. You're entitled to your belief. Believe what you want. Live your life as it makes you happy. Just don't try and force it on the rest of us. But respect your belief. That's an entirely different kettle of fish. I don't respect belief in homeopathy. I don't respect belief in astrology. I don't respect belief that the earth is flat or hollow. And I don't respect belief in a set of Bronze Age fairy tales that were revised and updated during the 4th and 5th centuries as an instrument to stem the collapse of a Mediterranean empire. If you want me to pretend that the stories in your Bible could possibly be true, agree that your belief in them is something I shouldn't criticise or mock, simply because you haven't put in enough effort, enough thought to realise how ridiculous they are, you're out of luck. And bear this in mind, anyone who nods their head when you come out with this stuff isn't showing you respect. They're either similarly deluded or silently mocking you.